Trump warns of bad things if Republicans lose midterms. Britain's Starmer heads to China as Western alliances face strain. Scandal tests Peru's China ties as U.S. scrutiny intensifies. Trump warns Iran to make nuclear deal, or next attack will be far worse. FBI searches Atlanta election office, chasing Trump 2020 vote fraud claims. U.S. President Donald Trump warned Tuesday that very bad things could follow if Republicans lose control of Congress in November's midterm elections, as he launched a campaign travel blitz amid growing political and public pressure. Speaking at a rally in Iowa, a key early state in presidential politics, Trump said Republicans must retain both the Senate and House to protect tax cuts and other policy priorities. He acknowledged economic concerns among voters and framed the midterms as crucial to maintaining the administration's agenda. Minneapolis shooting and immigration enforcement overshadow rally. Trump's message was largely overshadowed by developments in Minnesota, where federal immigration enforcement has sparked widespread controversy and unrest. Earlier this month, 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretty, a U.S. citizen, was fatally shot by federal immigration agents during an enforcement operation in Minneapolis. That incident followed another fatal shooting earlier in January, making Pretty the latest of at least 6 deaths linked to the federal crackdown on immigration enforcement. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to arrive in Beijing on Wednesday evening for a visit aimed at strengthening political and business ties with China, amid growing uncertainty in relations between Western countries and the United States. Speaking aboard his flight, Starmer said Britain cannot ignore the economic opportunities offered by China, the world's second-largest economy, while remaining cautious about potential security risks. He said engagement with China is in the UK's national interest and described the trip as an important step forward. The visit marks the first by a British Prime Minister since 2018. Starmer is travelling with a delegation of more than 50 business leaders and is scheduled to meet President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang on Thursday. He will then travel to Shanghai on Friday for talks with business executives. Analysts say the trip could signal a shift in relations after years of strained ties over issues including Hong Kong, China's support for Russia in the Ukraine war, and allegations of espionage by British security agencies. A political scandal involving undisclosed meetings between Peru's acting president and a Chinese businessman has drawn renewed attention to the country's close ties with China, amid heightened scrutiny from the United States. Acting President José Jerry, who took office in October after the removal of former President Dina Boluarte, has acknowledged holding 3 meetings late last year with businessman Zhihua Yang, but has denied any wrongdoing. Yang owns several Chinese import businesses in Peru and holds a concession for an energy project. He has previously been named in congressional investigations over alleged links to Chinese companies suspected of corruption. The controversy, known locally as Chiefagate, comes as the United States steps up efforts to limit China's influence in Latin America. Analysts say Washington could question China's investments in Peru, as it has done in other countries in the region. Opposition lawmakers have filed impeachment motions against Jerry, who is serving until July. Peru's public prosecutor has also opened a preliminary investigation into alleged influence peddling, which Jerry denies. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Iran to negotiate a deal on nuclear weapons, saying the country faces severe consequences if it refuses. In a social media post on Tuesday, Trump urged Tehran to come to the table and agree to what he described as a fair deal that would prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. He said time was running out and warned that any future U.S. military action would be far worse than previous strikes. Trump, who withdrew the United States from the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran during his first term, said a U.S. naval armada was heading toward the region. He noted that an earlier warning to Iran had been followed by a U.S. military strike in June. Iran responded with a strong warning of its own. Ali Shamkhani, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said any U.S. military action would trigger retaliation against the United States, Israel, and their supporters. The exchange comes amid a buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East, further raising tensions between Washington and Tehran. The FBI has searched an election office in Georgia's Fulton County as part of an investigation linked to U.S. President Donald Trump's claims that the 2020 election was marred by widespread fraud. In a brief statement, the FBI said agents executed a court-authorized warrant at the Fulton County Election Hub and Operation Center in Union City, near Atlanta. The search was completed late on Tuesday, according to a law enforcement official. Fulton County officials said the warrant sought records related to the 2020 election. A law enforcement source told Reuters that agents were looking for computers and ballots they believed were stored at the facility as part of an investigation into possible election interference. Joe Biden won Georgia in the 2020 election, defeating Trump, who has repeatedly and falsely claimed the vote was rigged. Trump returned to the White House after winning the 2024 election. The search is the latest move by the Trump administration involving the Justice Department in cases connected to the 2020 election, drawing criticism from opponents who say the actions risk undermining public trust and creating political instability.